You would happen to see us come up just a moment ago and it disappeared. My wife determined, she said, the audio is not working. So I just deleted it and just starting back over. Uh, I noticed after we were talking last night, we were going through some of the things that we've seen in the book of Exodus, and I do want to go through the book of Exodus, but it seems like going through it with her is so much fun to do it interactively, and since she's able to do that herself, it adds to it for me. But I was watching a video other than the one that I posted yesterday with showing why it was mandatory for the powers that be to destroy Bill Cosby in as much as they did. If you go back and look at that one video that he posted and showing how we black people are portrayed and that they do it in Hollywood on purpose. And there's a lot of things in there. I don't want to tell the video because it's there. But I was watching another one in addition to the books that I have, and it's called Hidden Colors. Hidden Colors. And I was watching one, and then it's kind of messed up, and I just went on and watched four. And they went through and showed how all over the world, how not only are we black people mistreated, but that how the colonizers determined what we're going to do. We're going to mix with some of these black people. We're going to make a mulatto class, and with the mulatto class, we can put them over the ones that's doing the work, and we have a buffer. And often those in the mulatto class would do more. They would be more aggressive toward the ones that are darker because we feel better because we're more white-eyed, and we could beat them, and we could put that, can I just say that thing on you? We could hurt you for them. And we see that breaking up our families, breaking up our homes was the goal. For us to come over here and make all of this wealth for the world and to only own 0.5% of the wealth, it wasn't done by accident. And when I listen to people that talk about this and show this, that when they show Kemet, when they show Mizraim, which is the Hebrew word for what we call Egypt. He was a person and they named the place after him. And every time I see it, and I see mostly white people, or I see the people that are over there now that weren't there before. Mm-hmm. When I look at the pictures, and I have plenty of them, they were black. Some of them were blacker than me. Their slaves were black. But when it's portrayed on TV, we're saying Ungawa, like on Tarzan. We're in grass skirts. And you don't talk about the men like on that book there in Timbuktu, where you talk about the wealth, where this man going around giving away about $100 million in gold, just letting it drop all over the ground. What's his name? Massa something?
Massa Musa.
Ah, I'm glad I got you as a wife. Massa Musa. And the thing is that not only the wealth, the science, the technology, the ability to deal with gold, silver, and to circumnavigate the planet, and you make it as if black people did nothing. And so, when our black brothers start telling us, they took you and put you in pre-K, put you in nursery school, first grade, Head Start, and all of those kind of things, we're going to determine what you learn. Whether it's Horace Mann that determine it, whether it's Dewey that does it, just like Hitler said, give me the children. And so they teach us their agenda. They white eyes us, as I call it, and make you think everything that's black is wrong. That's why you see these people can come to our neighborhoods and sell you hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of hair. That we can put your grocery stores outside of your place, and we can make it where your own people can't sell your groceries. But even where I live, I can go to a place that's Asian market. I can go to the Korean market. I can go to the Mexican part. I can go to different parts of town and do work. Because they know me that I do good work. That's the first thing. Even if people don't like you, if you're good at what you do. But the other thing, not only do I show respect, but they don't have to worry about me stealing anything from them. To steal from somebody, to me that would be like, I have to admit you better than me and I couldn't make it on my own. But that's secondary. What's primary is I honor the Most High God who sent his son to die for my sins. But Andrina, no matter how woke, and there are people that know more stuff than I do, but I'm learning more and more because I live in this world. and I was given this, and I want to be able to be a help to our people. I've looked at Kemet, ancestor worship. I look at learning everything that you can learn, how great our people were. When I look to see that, why did you erase the fact that many of us were Hebrews? Why, when King John II, when I look at the pictures that were painted and he's getting rid of the Jews, they were black? Why is it when I look at my old books, I'm seeing black Jews, and I knew nothing about black Jews unless a person converted? I guess it's the same thing like in Tim Hayshaw's book, where the Angolans taught our Caucasian brothers how to be cowboys, and they the ones that really were. And Drina, the thing that we're looking at and what we're dealing with here in the Exodus is no matter what I learn about black history, no matter what I learn about what has happened, due to the fact we don't have the power of the electric grid, we don't have the power over the satellites. Our last name is not Smith, Wesson, Glock. We don't own Boeing. We don't own Delta. We don't own the means of all of the transportation or the manufacturing thereof. How do you get those that legally oppress? For those that don't like what I'm saying, when I say legally oppressed, if you read the 13th Amendment, the 13th Amendment tells you that slavery nor involuntary servitude will exist in the United States except for a conviction of a crime. It doesn't say felony. It will not exist in the United States in any of its subsidiaries. Soon as the Emancipation Proclamation was made and the slaves were supposed to be set free, and they started seeing how much money was lost in Georgia off of the cotton, how much money was being lost in Alabama, what they decided to do, they made that 13th Amendment so now we can make black people criminals. We can send it all over the world, and it makes it look like black people are the most criminals ever there has ever been. Then what they did is they did convict leasing. We've talked about that. I've talked about that letter from Ezekiel Archie, that's Archey, and he describes the conditions. We talked about what they call sharecropping, which is slavery by another name. And I've talked about how my father went through that. And I talked about when I went back into history and I learned about Augustus Merritt, how he was separated from his wife, his child, his pregnant wife, and his living child. And then they were on Murphy's Farm. I've talked about that. But what's the solution? You see, when I look at Kemet and I look at all of the other things that's Pan-Africanism, when I look at all of those things, it doesn't tell me what to do if somebody steals from me. It doesn't tell me how to treat my mother. It doesn't tell me how to treat somebody that has killed somebody in my family accidentally. It doesn't teach me how and why I'm here. Why in the world am I here? Why is there even a here? It doesn't ground me in a morality that I can judge somebody wrong for what they've done. You see, no matter what I've learned in the other religions, I need to know why something is wrong. Because other than that, why shouldn't a white man take and enslave us? If there is no moral right or moral wrong, why shouldn't he do it? Why shouldn't a black man do him? When I look in the Word of God, I see a reason for my morality. I see why and how I know what I know. How I know what I know is based upon His Word. And when I look at what His Word, I'm looking to see if it's a correspondence to reality. How does it comport with reality? I'm looking to see what it says about life. Is it saying that, like a lot of people say, there is no truth? And that's totally inconsistent in what they're saying. You're telling me there's no truth, but you're making that statement as if it's the truth. I need to know what is universal, absolute, unvarying, that never changes, and that is obligatory to everybody. So whether you're a black man and you enslave me, you're a white man, you enslave me, whether you're a Chinaman and you enslave me, whether you take my wife because you're able to talk to her, you got more money, than I can say you're wrong, and justice has to take place. I find that in the Holy Scriptures. So when I look at the origin of life, I get an answer. When I look for the meaning of life, I get the answer. When I see where morality comes from, I get an answer, and I see how it comports, and it tells me what the end will be. What good am I, Andrina? Is if I die, I become one of the ancestors. But I didn't have it together when I was here. I just died automatically. I get a wisdom of the world that was supposed to be. Do I get to become a part of the karmic wheel? Do I get to reach a nirvana, a moksha? So, in looking in the scriptures, we find that Yah God has set up a means to build community, but it's based upon his righteous standards so that everyone can have justice. And does the United States do that? It's not a funny matter, but just the fact that I had to ask the question was funny. So we're going to go back to where we were last night in the book of Exodus, and let's look at Yahweh's moral code, his laws, the very thing that people say we don't need. You know what they say? Yet they'll say Jesus fulfilled the law, because Matthew 5:17, he says, think not I've come to destroy the law, but to fulfill it. So since he fulfilled it, there's nothing I should do. But didn't Romans chapter 8 verse 4 say the righteousness of the law is supposed to be fulfilled in us who walk not after the flesh, but after the spirit? Didn't it say when you don't love God's law, you have got a carnal mind? And the carnal mind is an enemy of God. It is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please God. I know when I was in the flesh, I couldn't. So the Bible says here, back in Exodus, that's where we stop. And let's just pick up at verse 16, and let's move forward. Exodus 22 and 16. Go ahead, Antrina.
And if a man entice a maid.
I mean, you talk sweetly to her, or you got some money. Or let's say when I was young, if he was light-skinned and bow-legged and had what they call good hair and entice a maid, go ahead.
That is not betrothed.
That is not engaged to somebody.
And lie with her.
And touch her in a special way.
He shall surely endow her to be his wife.
You're going to pay a dowry and marry her. What that is saying is you're not going out here just laying up with everybody. Under God's moral law, that woman is going to be protected. You decide you want to go into her, like we say, go in unto her, how the Bible talks. You're going to not only go into her, but you're going to respect her, and you're going to show yourself obligated to her. You're not God. These are the protections of the Most High, Andrina, that I do not allow you all to just be treated like whores. I got a protection for you. Read some more.
If her father utterly refused to give her unto him.
You ain't no good, and the father know that you have been soiled by this man, but you're no good. I know your family. No, look, I can't do it. You'd be better off to stay with me. What else?
He shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins.
Oh, you still going to pay just like you were to pay a dowry. You still going to pay, but I'm not going to give her to you because I'm looking out for her. She's got double protection. I would say triple. First, she has the Most High God. Then she has his laws. Then he has the agent of being God on the earth in a limited sense, her father. Would to God all girls had a father that would love them, would have a father that would protect them, had a father that would say, I know he's no good. I know his stock. I see how he lived. No. Would to God the man had lived himself in such a way that the daughter would listen. Okay. Go ahead, help me.
I was getting ready to say that you see a glimpse of this with Dinah.
You do.
And you see Shechem and his family. He takes her and he lies with her, and then he comes to Jacob and he asks to marry her. But they have devised this thing where they say, yes, let's do this because what they have will be ours, and we can intermingle and have what they have as ours. So you get to see that happen there because she went out to see the daughters of Shechem.
And that's in Genesis 34. If somebody picks up on this video later on and say, I don't know about Dinah. Well, now you know where to find her. That her address is Genesis chapter
Right. So
34,
you
verse
get a
1.
glimpse of that there. And then another part of that is that I was thinking about Tamar
Okay.
and that what Amnon did to her.
Okay.
And when she said to him, "Go to our father and speak to him," so you get to see her in her way. She's keeping the law and saying, "But you've done this. Go to our father and ask him for me."
And Drina, go ahead and tell what Amnon did, because some people may
Okay,
not know about Amnon and Tamar.
so the it goes as Amnon. It says that Amnon loved her, and this is Tamar. She's the sister of
Absalom.
Absalom. They have different mothers,
And they have, who
so
is the
they have
daddy?
the same father, which is David.
Right.
So it says that he loved her, and that he was. It was overwhelming for him that he loved her. So he had this. He didn't know what to do. So he had this friend, and they devised. He said, "Well, why don't you do this?" He gave him a plan in order to get her there. So she goes. He's sick, and he needs someone to cook for him to help him get better. So David sent her to him and said, "Help your brother, make sure he's nourished, take care of him, and cook for him and help him get well." Well, she goes to do this, and he rapes her. He takes her.
Rapes his own
Rapes his
sister.
own sister. And so after the rape is over, she says, "Okay, you've done this folly. Go and ask father." So she's following the law because she knows that you can still go and make this right. There's a way for you to make this right. Go to father and ask him for me. I don't my father is over me and he's over you too.
Right. And this is Second Samuel chapter 13 and 1, where these incidents are taking place. If you want the address of what she's talking, I really like the way you're explaining it, because you're giving it that female thing. It's almost like, I feel like what it would be like somebody just raped me like a dog, but I got that double protection.
Well, see, in that instance, it's not you. You're talking about family. In this instance, in Exodus, you're still talking about family. You're still talking about family members, familiar, and you know these people. And so I may not altogether despise it, but I know that this is not according to what God prescribed for us. So I'm saying let's get back in line with what He prescribed. You can go to Father and you can ask Him for me, and He loves you. He won't refuse you.
And I believe he was the oldest of all the sons as well.
Right. He loved you. He won't refuse you. Just do this. Just let not this folly be done
Yes, in Israel.
in Israel. So he decides, no, I hate you now.
I done got it.
As much as I loved you, I hate you with the same feeling, with the same strength that I said I loved you. I hate you the same way now. And no, just get out. Just get out. Just go. And she pleaded with him, "You can make this right." So he says no. She leaves out. She tells her brother.
And she's crying
She's
too.
crying. And she takes her princess garment and she tears it because she's been humbled. Not only that, her dignity is gone now.
Yes.
He took that from her.
And my protection.
And my protection. Because he didn't do that, and he's engaged in this, and he didn't love me enough, and he didn't love the Lord enough to make it right. So she goes and tells her brother, which is Absalom.
As a matter of fact,
And he
it seems
takes
like
her.
Absalom catches her And he makes her tell it pretty much.
Well, it reads as if he just takes her,
Okay.
and she becomes like a daughter to him.
Yes, thank the Lord.
He takes her, and this thing is made known to David, and he's not pleased with it, but he doesn't do anything.
Nothing.
So when you're talking about having a moral law and having a code of conduct that we all agree on and that we all to be, agree to be governed by,
Mm-hmm.
that's what we need. You can share money and shop with people, but if the person you're shopping with is the same color you are, but they don't have the same morality you have, they can sell you bad goods. They can beat you out of your money. They can charge you more than this thing is worth. So there still has to be, some common ground uh, of moral law. So I was
That was
just,
that
I
was
just
very,
wanted
that
to
was
point
very
that out.
beautiful that you brought that out. I will let you know I wouldn't have brought that out like that, and that, but I don't think I'll ever think of that passage that without really thinking of those two women that are perfect examples, especially when David could have made him marry her and not
Yes,
put him away or put him to death,
right,
but and then he could have saved himself other trouble. But
true.
here's the thing. That comes on the heel of God telling David the sword will never depart from your
That's
house.
true. That is true.
So now you see how the sword comes in your house. It comes in your house with siblings. It comes in the house with lust. It comes in the house with hate. It comes in the
Mm.
house with people conspiring. Jonadab conspired. And so now all of these things are working.
Jonadab. Yeah, I forgot his name. But yeah,
They're
thank you.
working. They're working together against that. So I don't know when I listen to people talk to me about Islam.
Mhm.
They talk to me about Buddhism
Mhm.
and the other religions that they bring. When I start asking questions, what is to be done in this situation? You see, because if it was Islam, you could do the muta, marry her for
Mm.
3 days and get rid of her. But people say that's not true. That's because they
It
don't
is
know.
true.
it
We've
is.
we've seen people react to it when we mention it,
Mm-hmm.
and they know and they admit that it's true.
Yes, and then in the Catholic Church, they can, if they wear the scapular, they can just get rid of you, the brown scapular, and confess it. But look, let's go back to where
Okay.
we were
Okay.
in the sweet word of God, because now you see there's a protection
Mhm.
that is given by Yahweh. It is revealed through His word. That's how you know what you know. Then you got another layer, your father.
Mhm.
And you show that the woman should know what Yah's word is too, so you can confront
Exactly.
the person with it.
Yes.
You're obligated. There is a truth. It is true. It is universal. It is absolute. It is obligatory for you to do this. You determine you don't want to do it, and you're going to face the consequences of Yah. What does it say in the next verse?
In verse 18,
Mm-hmm.
thou shalt not suffer a witch to live.
You see, under Yah's code, I'm God. We talked about that when we went to chapter 20. I am the Lord your God. I'm the one.
Mhm.
You will not have another God before me. Witchcraft, we're talking about true witchcraft. We're not talking about doing this when they play with it on Genie. Not Genie, but what's her name? Bewitched. We're
Bewitched.
talking about when people are able to talk to the dead. We're talking about when people are truly able to deal with what we call Elohim. Elohim are departed spirits from bodies. They call them ghosts. We're talking about things that are called principalities, powers. We're talking about things that are called the rulers of darkness of this world, watchers. We're talking about you will not suffer someone that practice sorcery, and often they would do it with drugs and divination to live.
What is that word for witch though in the
Sorcery
Hebrew?
is the word is kesip. Kesip is the root, and then you have Keshifa, Meshikafa. Well, but the root is what you would call Kesif,
Mhm.
but it means a sorceress.
Okay.
It's a person that practices black magic arts. That's what they do. And they don't see when people think it isn't real, they don't understand what Janus and Jambres. If you don't read the Apocrypha, you don't know that those are the people that threw down their rods against Moses, and their rods turned into serpents. It didn't say that they couldn't do it. They did many of the same thing Moses did, but what Moses did always was able to override theirs.
So when you talk about black magic arts,
Mm-hmm.
what in particular does that entail? And because to me, I'm thinking about what I see in what they call Hollywood. And I'm thinking about the things that they can conjure up, even images, even what they would call imaginations, or they always talk about magic and, the dreams and certain things that they can do. You see them put Peter Pan, and they do a lot of things what we would call witchcraft and sorcery with uh, Harry Potter, and people think that that's an innocent thing and it's just entertainment. And there are so many other things they put out um, that seem to be in this vein, but I'm not sure.
Oh, you go in there. Keep asking your question
Okay, so
because your question is really thus far everything you're saying is what the practice of the arts are, and you go ahead and touch on necromancy as well while you're
so
going.
in an instance, I'm thinking like even when you see what they call illusionists
Okay.
and people that stand on a stage and they can make a woman levitate, and that's before your eyes. That's what you're seeing. And then they can saw somebody in half. They can make people disappear before your eyes. They can do certain things, and not even above that. If you were doing that before my eyes and I'm watching you constantly the whole time, then what other things are you able to do behind the scenes? Because I know that there are other spirits, uh, malevolent spirits. So I'm thinking in terms of the witch, what you call a person or an art being a channel to bring that forth. Am I thinking correctly?
You are. You see, there are other spirit beings in this world that we act like we don't know about. And so there's a lot. You see my book up there that's dealing with symbols and things, and then I have stuff by Sir George Fraser, where he talks about the different arts and things that they use in other countries. Well, they're using a lot of arts here. They make
Right.
sacrifices in America. What is thing Santeria, where people do some of the same thing there.
Yes, and they even posted it like on Instagram where they're actually performing this. And one woman, I can't remember her name, but she's showing where she's showing her altar,
Okay.
and it looks like maybe like a shower stall or something. But this is where she sacrificed and put blood. She places blood because it's everything they do it with blood. And so she's showing where she's getting ready to cleanse her altar because she's made so many sacrifices, and it smells so badly because it's unsanitary. And so she's going about and she's getting ready to cleanse this altar where she's made these sacrifices. And she talked about, success she's had and things she's acquired because she's made these sacrifices.
Do you remember the witches
I
came
can't.
together with for Marianne Williamson? Remember the guy that wins the Super Bowl? His wife,
I remember that. Yes.
Brady. His wife is a
Yeah,
witch.
Tom Brady.
And she does certain things.
That's right.
And
That's
you
true.
and you look at the astronomical way that they win. It's like, unless somebody getting paid, how the Falcons just, you had this great big lead. But he says he works with the practice. He says she does the
The
conjugates.
art.
Yeah, she does the art. But when we are taught in the Western world to think everything is existential, that everything has to come from a naturalistic point of view, we
Mm-hmm.
don't believe in the spiritual realm, then why don't we throw away our Bibles? I mean, seriously. Because
That's
when
really
Yeshua
true.
walked on the earth, this man was encased by demons, or they was infested with demons. I call it, like say, infested.
Uh-huh.
They chained him, and what did he do with the chains?
He broke them.
And he walked around naked, and they couldn't hold him.
Hmm.
But when Yeshua, Jesus came, they talked to him. He said, "What's your name?" "We are legion. We are many." Not only that, Satan even showed that I can give you all the kingdom of the world. Now, did that happen? Did it not? Did he not tempt him like that?
Hmm.
Didn't well, I'm not even going to ask you from what is called a double negative point of view. We see in 1 Samuel 28 that Saul knew this woman. She was what they call a witch.
Right.
He needed to talk to Samuel because God was refusing him. He wasn't talking to him through the Urim. He wasn't talking to him through the Thummim. Guess what he did? So I
Mm.
decided what I'll do is I'll go find me a witch. So he disguises
I'll
himself.
find another way to get information.
And he did it.
Mm.
And Samuel said, "You're going to die." Egypt was full of power. People think that that was just superstition. No, they talked to the dead. The Bible tells us not to talk to the dead, not to do necromancy. When they would offer their children to Baal, they would get benefits. They would get crops. They would get rain. They got so much from it that when I think it's 1 Kings 18 and 19, the children of Israel didn't know the difference between what Yah could do and what Baal would do.
That's
And
true.
so he says, how long do you halt
Halt.
between two
Mm-hmm.
opinions? The Bible says in Acts chapter 19 that the people in Ephesus, not only could they do the magic arts, but when they saw the power of Yah, it was so much that they burned their
Their
books.
books.
And
Mm-hmm.
when Paul writes to those same people, he said, you don't need to be carried away with winds of doctrine in the 4th chapter and about the 15th through the 17th verse. But the passage that we're familiar with in the 6th chapter, he said, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood.
Mm.
He gives a list: principalities, powers, the rulers of the darkness of this world, spiritual wickedness in high places. Daniel talks about a prince of Persia that when he had prayed, Yah said, I sent some help to you, but he
Was it
said,
Michael?
yes,
That was
Michael,
right.
but I had a battle to deal with.
Wrestling.
And
Right.
after that, he said, the prince of Grecia is going to come. Grecia is when Greeks took over during the Maccabean period with Alexander of Macedonia and his 4 generals. They take over, and then Antiochus come in and he attacks. But the illusions that they are able to do, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know whenever they make the difference that we can do this by trickery and by ways things are made. But there's
Or
some
by
other
the
things that
spirit.
we do.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain things. Aleister Crowley said that he had power.
Right.
And he raped and had sex with a lot of boys.
Mm.
They would
And
church.
animals too.
Yes, church would do the same kind of thing. Richard Church became over the Church of Satan. Anton LaVey.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you see people talk about what we talk about, the Illuminati and all that, people think it's not real. If it's not real, throw your Bible
Oh.
away, because the Bible speaks of that. It speaks of people that can go to the other side and get information. I would submit to you, I believe that that is part of how we black people have been kept in control, because a lot of the things that black people, when I say black people, I'm talking about Egyptian people, I'm talking about Hebrew people, people in that part of the world. They knew certain things in the spiritual realm, and the Vatican goes and they unearth, they go and dig up black people's graves, they go and dig up their civilizations, and then they lock it down and we put it in our museums, or we keep certain things in the halls of the Vatican, and we don't even give you what we know about you. And then what we do is we'll let you see we got a black Madonna and child. We got a real black Madonna and child. We know certain things about what happened, how you all have these things lined up astrologically to fit with the universe. And although you didn't have the microscopes, We keep from you all that you all didn't even have the ability to know. And there were other beings that would come through and teach us. The Bible teaches it, even says in 1 Timothy chapter 4, that in the latter times that you would have demons that would teach. But we see in the first part of the Bible, who taught Eve? Eve, you hungry? Look at that fruit over there. If you eat from this one, you're going to get a knowledge that you didn't have before. So when we look in the Bible talks about individuals that would get powers, that would get information, that could communicate with the dead, that would be able to tell you things, that would give you power and glory and might. And in the entertainment world, is it called Highway 66? What individuals would Route 66, where you would see documentaries where people would go through, especially on that where the video they sold their soul for rock and roll. They would talk about people that were so horrible in music, and they would go make that deal. You see that deal a lot of time portrayed in different ways in Rod Serling's Night Gallery and Twilight Zone and stuff like that. But people make that deal with the devil, and they get power. And we act like we don't think there's no powers, but there are powers in this world. And when you talk about the illusionists, even the lies that people tell, some people can tell you things in the future. They're not like some of the people in the church. They go, you're going to be so and so and so. A lot of times people aren't even caring about that. They'll tell you what's going on.
That's right. They really are in the open about these being witches and having covens.
Yes.
And they have conferences, and they come together to pray. Like they were going to come together. Remember, they're going to come together and pray against Trump.
Didn't they do the same thing with that Kavanaugh?
Kavanaugh as well. So you see that they're coming out more and more, just as you see other wickedness showing itself.
But you remember a lot of this you don't see in the history of Europe. You didn't see them have that when you're talking about the Khazars with the Vikings. They didn't have the certain kind of rituals and the things that you see in Egypt. But you see that as the people migrated, they brought their arts with them. They brought their craft with them. And a lot of times they were able to pick up on a lot of things that were going on in different parts of the world, especially Mesopotamia. Nimrod actually was over that area. You get to see in Babylon, they had their arts. So much so that the magicians had their power. We call them magicians, the Magi. And they were going to corrupt and change the people from the Most High. We talked about that today when they changed the name of Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, and Daniel, and changed Daniel's name from the judge of God, or God is judge, to Belteshazzar, after their name, after their God's name. Hananiah got the IAH on it, which would represent Yaakov. There's no I in the Hebrew language. Then you got Mishael, you got the name El on the name, and Azariah, and you give the name Shadrach after your God, Meshach after your God, and Abed-Nego after the gods. And so the point that I was going to bring up is, in the end, the thing that made them fear the most was Daniel prayed to his God. And the 120 satraps, they determined, we can't get nothing on him. O king, you know, you're such a beautiful man. You're so magnificent. Let's make it where if anybody pray to any other God except our God, he be destroyed. And he didn't know, because now you've moved from Babylon. You're still in Babylon, but you're under the rule of the Medes and Persians. Because in Babylon, it was a unitary monarchy. Where Nebuchadnezzar said went.
Right.
Now that the Medes and Persians are there, when you say something and it's written, he can't change it. That's according to the laws of the Medes and Persians. The point being made is when they had Daniel thrown in the lion's den, and Daniel lived, God gave him power. He shut the lion's mouth. All of the satraps, they now are thrown into the lion's den,
Right.
and their families, and every one of them are destroyed. And like I was telling our brother today, I said, I talked to him, I don't think it was in class, I talked to him when we were just on the phone. I said, the point being made is now all of the magi or all of the people that are in charge are gone. Now Daniel's in charge after they all die. Who do you think build them up? Who do you think tell them about the star that's talked about doing Balaam that comes from Jacob, and to make them understand that the scepter will not depart from Judah, Genesis 49, nor a lawgiver till Shiloh come. That's why they were able to know we have seen his star in the east. Not that the star is in the east like when they give you that bastardization that come from what you call the secret society, Eastern Star. No, here's Palestine. Mediterranean Sea is here going toward the west.
In the east.
That's right. Babylon is over here in the east.
Right.
Persia, Euphrates River. We have seen his star in the east. We saw it. And we are come to worship him. Wait a minute. Not to worship the star. We're come to worship him. Him who? Let him tell you. We come to worship him that Daniel had talked about when Nebuchadnezzar had the dream, and the statue is built in chapter 2, and in that statue had a head of gold, this part is silver, you go down to the bronze, legs of iron and the toes of clay and iron, and he sees a stone that's not cut with hands out of the mountain that destroys what? The statues, all of those kingdoms. We have seen the star of the stone. We have seen the one that's going to rule the world. We have, because see, we know the head of gold was Babylon. We know that the breastplate, that part, is Medo and Persia. We know that the brass part, we got Greece. We got the other part that is Rome. Rome is ruling now. Rome is ruling. Tiberius is now. We got Augustus. He's given his decree. So maybe the Tiberius is not there yet. Augustus is ruling, Octavian. But we have seen his star in the east. And we have come to worship the one that will subdue all kingdoms. And Herod did not like that. We've come to worship him. Go ahead.
I want to go back to, you brought up Balaam.
I did.
And so I want to go back to that because when we're talking about witches and witchcraft, and he was sort of thought of in this way, like he was a sort of a wizard.
He did have a power.
You know, the people of the king of Moab. And it looks as if he's like, I want to hire you as this wizard to curse. And so your fame has gone out so much that we understand that you know certain things and you can see certain things and you have visions and you have understanding of things, that it seems as if the king of Moab was saying, we know you have the power within yourself to curse these people. And it's whatever they've seen before from him, whatever they've known before from him, he seems to believe that he's able to do this. And that this is some sort of, to me, I would think this is, when I'm reading it, this is some sort of witchcraft. If you're saying, curse this people, and that you
autonomously,
yes,
on your own rule.
Yes, that you have some sort of power to curse. And isn't that really what witchcraft is all about?
Well,
it's having that kind of power.
It's, in one sense, to curse the other one, but it's in the sense for Balaam to bless us.
Well,
I'm agreeing with. Yes, I'm agreeing with you, but I'm just dealing with it from the edge, from the side that often to bless somebody, you're doing something else to curse somebody. Yeah, so that we can get wealth. What wealth? Because I perceive that Yah God is giving them our resources. We don't want them to have it. And to bear out what you were saying about the fame of this, can I call him a joker?
Yes, you can call
okay,
him.
so
That would be fine.
So notice, Og of Bashan, a giant, he's been destroyed.
Right.
So if we look in 33 of Numbers 21,
21 and 33.
21 and 33,
okay.
It says, and they turned about by the way.
They turned and went up by the way of Bashan, and Og, the king of Bashan, went out against them, he and all his people, to the battle at Edrei. Edria,
however you want to say it. That we still in love.
And Yahweh said unto Moses, fear him not, for I have delivered him into thy hand.
So we see, if you don't believe in spirits, you don't believe God has delivered into the hands. The king of Moab seemed to have more power to understand that this war, although we're fighting out on a physical plane, this is a spiritual war. This is a spiritual battle. Read 22 and 1.
22 and 1. And the children of Israel set forward and pitched in the plains of Moab, on this side Jordan by Jericho. And Balak, the son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done unto the Amorites.
We see that they have destroyed the Amorites. We're weak. We don't think that we can win. We need help. Now, my question is, if you've seen an army destroy a giant, you dealt with Sion.
Right.
We need something that we don't, our military don't have it. So whatever it is he goes to do, he knows that this is a powerful source that he's going to. That's the point that I'm saying, bearing out what you're saying. Read, precious love.
And Moab was sore afraid of the people because they were many. And Moab was distressed because of the children of Israel. And Moab said unto the elders of Midian, now shall this company lick up all that are round about us, as the ox licketh up the grass of the field. And Balak the son of Zippor was king of the Moabites at that time. He sent messengers therefore unto Balaam the son of Beor to Pethor, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, to call him, saying, behold, there is a people come out from Egypt.
He's called Balaam. He's calling this person to be his savior. And he's doing it as a king to save his people. It's really a picture of what the children of God should do. But he's showing the confidence that he has in this man. And you were talking about sorcery. You want to know about Balaam? Here it is. Read some more, precious.
Behold, they cover the face of the earth, and they abide over against me. Come now, therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people, for they are too mighty for me. Peradventure I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and that I may drive them out of the land.
Now, I want you to look in the next two verses, and this is going to give you the reputation of this Balaam, of this Moabite, of this person that does not follow Yah, and we're going to see the power of black magic. You got to sneeze?
If I know this.
Go ahead.
I'll try to.
Go ahead. I'll read. I know you have sinus. Go ahead.
Andy, if I sound bad, you take it over, okay?
You sound like you need to go and take you a minute, and then just come back to me. Let me read.
I can read.
I'm going to trust you.
And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the rewards of divination.
Rewards of sorcery, or a fee for divination. The word is sim. It's a fee for doing work for divination, okay?
With the rewards of divination in their hand. And they came unto Balaam, and spake unto him the words of Balak. And he said unto them, Lodge here this night, and I will bring you word again, as Yahweh shall speak unto me. And the princes of Moab abide with Balaam. And God came unto Balaam and said, What men are these with thee?
Who is this? You know how sometimes children say, who that is?
Right.
Go ahead.
And Balaam said unto God, Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab, hath sent unto me, saying, Behold, there is a people come out of Egypt, which covereth the face of the earth. Come now and curse me them. Peradventure I shall be able to overcome them and drive them out.
See, he's talking to God. God knows this man, and he knows what he's about. He knows what kind of power this individual has. And he says, oh, this is what I'm doing. He just hired me to do this. I don't see no problem with it.
And God said unto Balaam, Thou shalt not go with them.
Sit your tail down, boy.
Thou shalt not curse the people, for they are blessed.
The stuff that I've allowed you, and I haven't restrained you, I got a restraining order on you. Keep your hands off of them. They are protected. They are protected. They are in covenant with me. They're with Moses. Leave them alone. I'm working with them. I know you're fighting for the enemy. I'm giving you fair warning. I've allowed you to be able to enter into a realm where you can do this. You got a reputation.
You see some things, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay. And Balaam rose up in the morning and said unto the princes of Balak, Get you into your land, for Yahweh refuses to give me leave to go with you.
God, he has refused to let me do my thing. He's held me back. You see, remember when the prince talked to Daniel, he said, when you first prayed, when you started praying 7 weeks ago, I was said leave to go, but the prince of Persia, he withheld me, but I still got to go. In this case, he wants to go do wickedly, and Yahweh is stopping you from cursing. Go ahead and read.
And the princes of Moab rose up, and they went unto Balak and said, Balaam refuses to come with us. And Balak sent yet again princes, more and more honorable than they.
I'm saying this. Look, I'm saying the important people. I hate these people.
Yes.
I hate them. Please come and do your magic. You see, a lot of times when people get ready to go to war, they would have their ceremonies, they would have their worship, they would pray to their gods. And they would pray, and often they would get deliverance. Remember, the other nations were under when Deuteronomy 32:8 says, when the Most High separated the nations, he did it according to the sons of God. Your King James will say, he did it according to the children of Israel, but your Dead Sea Scroll will let you see it was the B'nai Ha Elohim. Go ahead, precious.
And they came to Balaam and said to him, Thus saith Balak, the son of Zippor, Let nothing, I pray thee, hinder thee from coming unto me.
Man, get over here now.
For I will promote thee unto very great honor.
This is the thing that most people don't realize. He could promote him. He's going to promise him money. And this is why a lot of times people get into stuff in the entertainment world. This is why a lot of times people do things. They want to be promoted
to great honor. And I will do whatsoever thou sayest unto me.
Look, I don't care what you charge. I need that magic. I can't win. I can't. But see, the thing is, I can't win. I need magic because this is bigger than what I can do. Go ahead.
Come therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people. And Balaam answered and said unto the servants of Balak, if Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the word of Yahweh, my power.
Even the wicked, the demons know. Why do you think they want to get rid of Christianity? And when I say Christianity, Christianity often does not even keep the laws of the Most High. They don't even follow what he said. They tell you you don't have to do it. But we need to get rid of any of that semblance so that people will not go behind what they teach when they say once saved, always saved, live any way you want to, plead the blood, Catholic doing stuff with boys. No, we need to get all of it. We don't want to leave no root. We want to do to what God has said, get rid of all of the other religion, get rid of that stuff in those other nations. And so we don't want you to even have any of God's word, because there will be some remnant always that will follow him. And they might not take on the name Christianity. They will take on, we are followers of the Most High. So what they want to do is get rid of every semblance of what's righteous. Go ahead.
Now therefore, I pray you, tarry you also here this night, that I may know what Yahweh will say unto me more. And God came unto Balaam at night and said unto him, if the men come to call thee, rise up and go with them.
Now let me give you the backside of that. Okay. The backside of that is it looks like God is giving in. But if you look in 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 15, Peter is going to explain some things about what happened right there. Okay, Peter says, those people that come in and teach you to live an ungodly life and make merchandise of you, they're like Balaam. Balaam could have got reward. Balaam could have got paid, and he was willing to do anything he could to hurt the people of God.
You said 2 Peter?
2 Peter chapter 2, verse 14. Okay. And he said, Peter is saying, because he starts the second chapter off about false prophets being among you as they were among the people. False prophets, they're not always impotent, but they always are malevolent. They come from another spirit working. They are practicing the doctrines of demons, and that's why sometimes false prophets can do miracles. So Peter is going to line them up and give them the same thing. He calls them brute beasts. They should be destroyed. Go ahead and read. You can read 14 is what good enough.
Having eyes full of adultery.
See, adultery is when an individual takes the Yahweh and say, I'm going to take another religion with it to give me extra power. That's why Israel would get with Baal. They would get with Molech and offer their children. They would do that and have that in the temple. And so it's not that they were stupid. No, divination works. Please read.
And that cannot cease from sin, beguiling unstable souls. A heart they have exercised with covetous practice.
You see, when you get into greed, the Bible calls that idolatry. From idolatry, the idol is nothing. The spirit behind the idol is the very thing where the demon is, or what we would call an angel or whatever, but it's a malevolent spirit. So once an individual is given over to greed, he opens himself up, whether he knows it or not, to that other side. Read some more.
Covetous practices, cursed children, which have forsaken the right way and are gone astray, following the way of Balaam, the son of Besor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness.
You see, so he's letting you know that this man was greedy. He was willing to sacrifice those people to get paid. Read some more.
But was rebuked for his iniquity. The dumb ass, speaking with man's voice, forbade the madness of the prophet.
Look at Jude, Jesus' brother, Yeshua's brother, when he talks about him. In Jude, when you look at Jude, he actually, look at verse 9, look at 8 and 9. When you see, I'll read 8 and you can go ahead and get 9. he talks about people dealing with beings. He talks about people speaking about dominions. Dominions are powers of the other world. So in the 8th verse it says, likewise, I'm in Jude 8, these filthy dreamers, these are people that are wicked, that teach grace for license. And I'll prove that because somebody said, you didn't prove your point. So I'll just say in verse 5, it says, I will therefore put you in remembrance, though you once knew this, how that the Lord, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, afterwards destroyed them that believe not. I actually meant 4. I was wrong this time. It says, verse 4, Jude 4. It says, there are certain men crept in unawares, who were before of old ordained to this condemnation. Ungodly men, look at what they do. Turn the grace of God into lasciviousness or a license or immorality, and denying the only Lord God and Lord Jesus Christ. So that's how we get to verse 8. How does that fit with divination? They're teaching demonology. They are teaching rebellion against God. They are teaching something is equal to God. They are going after money and they get power by the other side. And so when I told you to read 8, where it says, likewise, these filthy dreamers, they defile the flesh, they despise dominion,
and speak evil of dignity.
they speak evil of beings that they don't know that much about often. But then when you run your mouth and you get involved with them, he's going to explain. Look at verse 9.
Yet Michael, the archangel, when contending with the devil, he disputed about the body of Moses, durst not bring against him a railing accusation, but said, Yahweh rebuke thee. But these speak evil of those things which they know not.
And that's why you see me. I rebuke you, spirit of lust. I rebuke you, spirit of this. I rebuke you, spirit of evil. I rebuke you, spirit of pedophilia. I rebuke you, devil. He says, Michael, the archangel, when he said that, obviously it ought to be like, you ought to know you're not that great. You are lower than the angel. He said when disputing with the devil against the body of Moses, he said, the Lord rebuke you. Read that again, but these stupid people in verse 10.
But these speak evil of those things which they know not, but what they know naturally, as brute beasts, in those things they corrupt themselves.
Woe. Read.
Woe unto them, for they have gone in the way of Cain, and ran greedily after the error of Balaam for reward.
That's the key. And you can go ahead and say, perish in the gainsaying of Korah. And then you got Revelation 2 and 14 talks about them. It's over there, I believe. Okay. In Revelation 2 and 14, it says, but I have a few things. This is talking to the church. I have a few things against you, because you have there them that hold to the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel. Listen, to eat things sacrificed unto idols, and to commit fornication. You see the spirits that he's dealing with. You're sacrificing to the idol, but your problem in sacrificing to the idol, not only were you told not to do it, there's a spirit being behind that, and they would do ceremonies to open it up. So, and then they did the sex and they did the fornication. So, when I come back here to Numbers, I've already seen now what the end of it is. I've seen the divination, but now if you go back to where you were, after God told me, go ahead and go, you can go back to 20 and read it, because we may have forgotten it in the time when the Lord is giving his explanation. And what I like about going with you, because this is all we're going to cover is Balaam, but it was nice because maybe some people never know anything about witches and divination. Please read, Precious.
I'm sorry, I'm not there yet. I'm sorry, I lost my place.
It's Numbers chapter 22, verse 20.
Verse 20. And God came unto Balaam at night and said unto him, if the men come to call thee, rise up and go with them. But yet the word which I shall say unto thee, that shalt thou do. Sorry.
I would have said shalt do because you know how I'll skip a word. Go ahead.
And Balaam rose up in the morning and saddled his ass and went with the princes of Moab.
Now, when I first read this, I thought he did right. He said, God has changed his mind and let him go.
Right.
But read the next verse.
And God's anger was kindled because he went.
But now that we read what we see in the New Testament,
we got a glimpse of we saw his heart.
Yes, and he didn't want him to go, but this is why sometimes when God lets you do what you want to,
that don't always mean he approves.
Just because he let you keep having sex with somebody, just because he let you whip somebody's tail, just because he let you get away with slander, what you're doing is treasuring up wrath. You know what? I ought to read that because since this is all we're going to cover tonight, some people don't know that scripture exists in the Bible. And I ought to be nice enough to read it to them. Let me go over here to Romans chapter 2, verse 5. Would that be taking us too far away from where we are, Andrina?
No, I mean, we do what we do.
We do what we do. Okay. Romans, look what, I'm going to just show it to you in the whole context. Romans 2:1 says,
Therefore, thou art inexcusable, O man, whosoever thou art, that judgest. For wherein thou judgest another, thou condemnest thyself, for thou that judgest dost the same thing.
Go back and read 32 of the first chapter. I don't like the way Stephanus made those verses split right there.
Who knowing the judgment of God.
This is all the homosexual, this is the murder, this is the divination, this is the witchcraft, this is idolatry, lesbianism, killing parents, and all this in chapter 1.
Backbiters, all that. Who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do.
They get rid of your fornication. That's a lot of the shows we see on TV that we watch and we enjoy. That we watch and enjoy that's promoting that. Preachers that doing things that we still delight in them because he likes me. So he said, you are inexcusable. You read that. You judge and you do the same thing. Do you think you're going to escape the judgment of God? Verse 2.
But we are sure that the judgment of God is according to truth.
And this is why it's important to me to have Yahweh and not just be what they call woke. I need to know what is righteous. Read, please.
According to truth against them which commit such things. And thinkest thou this, O man, that judgest them which do such things, and doest the same, that thou shalt escape the judgment of God?
You think you can know when somebody else is doing wrong? Like I hear people say that Obama did this, or Trump did this, or this dude down the street did this, and this governor did this, and this senator did this, or this preacher did this, and you do the same thing.
And worse.
And you think that you're going to escape. Donald Trump, he grabbed him by, and he's a billionaire, but you impregnated. You impregnated and paid for the abortion. Please read, Andrina.
Or despise thou the riches of his goodness and forbearance and long suffering, not knowing that the goodness of God leadeth thee to repentance?
If the dude would have stopped when God first told him, he would have been destroyed like he was. Read the next verse then.
But after thy hardness and impenitent heart.
That means unrepentant heart.
Treasure up unto thyself wrath against the day of wrath.
Imagine you got one piece of gold and you keep walking down the street and you keep finding gold and you just keep throwing it in your trunk of your car. When you get home, you stack up and you've treasured up all this gold. Now you got a big amount of value. Well, what God is saying, when you don't think God's going to get you, when you think his mercy, when you think his grace, he hadn't struck you down, you're just picking up little pieces of gold punishment, treasuring it up against the day of wrath, and what else?
And revelation of the righteous judgment of God, who will render to every man according to his deed.
Then he gives you the contrary. Those that want to do patience continual, they get eternal life. But what do they get in verse 8?
For unto them that are contentious and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness, indignation, and wrath, tribulation, and anguish upon every soul of man that doeth evil, of the Jew first, and also of the Gentile.
Now, if you would repent and quit piling it up, what would you get?
But glory, honor, and peace to every man that worketh good.
Wait a minute, they say there's no work for you to do.
That worketh good.
Uh-huh.
To the Jew first, and also to the Gentiles.
Whoever the real Jew is, him first, and the Gentiles. So back in Balaam, when the Lord's anger got kindled, you see that night when he told him he could go, Balaam didn't know he was treasuring it up. God's gone, your heart's like that. Go on and do what you do.
What you want.
Yeah. Do the whole of your, whatever, thou wilt do it. Read, precious.
And God's anger was kindled because he went. And the angel of Yahweh stood. And the angel of Yahweh stood in the way for an adversary against him.
Notice, the word is Satan. It's Satan.
Oh.
The angel of, so we think Satan is really the name. It's really adversary. And then it developed into where people started just calling him the adversary. So the angel of the Lord, he doesn't even realize he's an adversary, but you'll see as you read. Go ahead.
Now he was riding upon his ass, and his two servants were with him. And the ass saw the angel of Yahweh standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. And the ass turned aside out of the way, and went into the field. And Balaam smote the ass to turn him into the way. But the angel of Yahweh stood in the path of the vineyards, a wall being on this side and a wall on that side. And when the ass saw the angel of Yahweh, she thrust herself unto the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall, and he smote her again. And the angel of Yahweh went further and stood in a narrow place where was no way to turn either to the right hand or to the left.
Should we read the rest of that? Just tell the rest of it. God ended up letting the ass talk. Mm-hmm. And the man with his greed and everything, he's rebuked. And God said, if it wasn't for that ass, I'd kill you. I know what kind of spirit you got. Uh-huh. I know what you're up to. Right. You really want to curse my people anyway. Yeah. And you're doing it for money. And so God allows him to go on. But now you got to say what I'm going to say. In other words, you weren't going there as my messenger. No. But I could take your wickedness and the power you have and make. This is why we got to pray as black people. If he could take Balaam, a man with power of divination, and make him in this passage has two beings that likely you would not expect to be able to speak the truth and bless his people. A dumbass and the other dumbass. Well, the man. And made him tell the truth. So by the time you get to Numbers 31 and 8, they have a war. Mm-hmm. And it says they slew the kings of Midian and the rest of them that were slain, and Evi and Rechem and Zur and Hur and Reba, 5 kings of Midian, Balaam also, the son.
They slew with sword.
He still had treasured up so much wrath that God got him. God killed him. And in the 16th verse, talks about how Balaam caused them to be destroyed. It was through his divination. Divination comes when you have powers. Divination comes when you have greed. Divination is in the individual. They can do it even on a lower scale when they teach you false religion. What does it say in the 16th verse?
I'm going to go to 15.
Okay.
And Moses said unto them, have ye saved all the women alive? Behold, these caused the children of Israel through the counsel of Balaam to commit trespass against Yahweh in the matter of Peor. And there was a plague among the congregation of Yahweh.
And so you begin to understand, and the Bible talks about Balaam a lot of places. How did we get there? We got there by just talking about thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. We talked about divination, and I say that they do have power. The Bible, let me type in my search bar necromancy, because when I was a kid, I didn't know what that meant. But necros mean death, okay? So necromancy, I don't know if mancy means talk, but anyway, that's what necromancy, and that's what happens when the people talk to the dead. And my question I used to ask people was this: if God bans it, is it impossible to do? See, I can't imagine that God tell me, Tim, don't go out there and run the 100-yard dash in 3 seconds. It'll make people jealous. Go ahead.
Yeah, and he knows that you can't do it. But I was thinking about the movie, that movie Black Panther.
Yes, Lord Jesus.
And they were having these people induce themselves like they were going into death, and they would go into what they call the underworld, and they would speak to the ancestors, or the ancestors would be able to help them in such a way. And I'm thinking, when I was watching it, I'm saying, they're teaching us to speak to the dead. And so, I started thinking, and you can tell me if I'm wrong for this, but I started thinking, and this is personal, because I haven't really been to my son's grave. Because I understood that when he left this plane, he was no longer here, and that I just felt like, why would I go out to a place where I know he's not there? And it's just like a corpse is there. And why would I go there and talk or cry or whatever? Because I feel like, to me, it feels like I'm dwelling there. Like it's like he's there and he's not there. And I knew immediately when I saw his body that he was not there. And I had that experience before with my grandmother. When I saw her, you have these experiences when you love somebody dearly, that it's like, I know this is not them. And so this is the shell that they were in. And this is what I know, but there is a person that is not here anymore. And so, and it's almost as if you're teaching, I'm thinking about how you teach people to go to graves, and you have people go and they talk to people, and as if they're in that grave, as if that's where they are. And it's like, I don't know if I've never felt compelled to do it. Neither have I felt guilty because I didn't do it. But I felt when I saw him, he wasn't there. He was gone.
He was definitely gone. It wasn't. It was not his lively self.
Yes, but he looked perfectly fine.
Yep.
So, it's like, but I don't know. It just seemed like that's what's taught to us. That this is what we should do, and this is how we celebrate the dead, and we go to graves. Like you were talking yesterday. It wasn't yesterday. It was Friday. And you talked about Benny Hinn going to the grave of Catherine Kuhlman. Going to her grave and getting all this information.
He said it.
Summoning up her spirit.
He said it.
Getting this information, and it's like, what is it? I don't see that here. I see that, when I say I don't see that here, I mean in our book. I don't see that. I see people mourn for Moses, maybe 30 days or however long, but you don't see them return.
You see Abraham saying
to the grave
in Genesis 23:4, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession and a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. And then it says, he communed with him, saying, if it be in your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me and entreat for me for Zoar. And he paid the man money. So, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong for that. Because I worked in the cemetery business. I saw a lot. And I'm telling you, when you go to the gravesite, if you know the scripture, you know that I'm not even in my mind going to talk to them. And there's a temptation. It's a temptation. And I know it. And I know that. I remember when I read a book years ago called Think and Grow Rich. And then I bought the audio. So I was going to be rich. And Napoleon Hill had done it. And I knew it would work.
I had read about that. Like he was summoning up different people. And they were like a council to him.
Yep. And it's called his mastermind group.
Okay.
I was going to do that, and I had made mine, and then he said, they got to be so real. And I was going to make my mastermind group. I was going to have two. I was going to have one to teach me about the things of God. And it's like, he said they got real. And I knew that was, you're talking to the dead through your mind.
And he said that as if it was
he said
overwhelming.
It was like he lost reality.
Right.
Now, to answer your major question, when we were talking about the witch, Deuteronomy 18:9 goes through it, and we can end with that. To me, it was a great topic, because I don't think nobody's ever really discussed it. Surely I'm talking about in our group, not this much, although we haven't exhausted it, but we did go through it enough that we can squeeze some of the juice out of it.
Deuteronomy
18, 1:8, verse 9.
Verse 9.
Yeah.
When thou art come into the land which Yahweh thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations.
In other words, they got stuff they do. Don't go to class over there and learn it. Go ahead.
There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire.
We're not going to sacrifice and get that power, or we're not going to practice what?
Divination.
We're not going to be going to the other side, learning how to make information about the future or do omens. What else?
Or an observer of time.
A soothsayer. One of those individuals that can tell you that we know what's going to happen with this and what's going to happen with this. And go ahead.
Or an enchanter. What is an enchanter?
We got a diviner, one that can speak out, and one that can show, one that can tell things, observe signs, got information from demons. Like you can.
What do you mean signs?
Fascinate.
You say observe signs. What does that mean?
Just like when people that can do dreams, people that can see things that happen. Remember they used to do the liver. Remember they used to do the liver.
Yes, they take the liver of an animal, and they tell a person what their future was gonna be. We saw this on I Claudius, and this is what the Romans would do, and they take the liver of an animal, and they look into the liver, and they see certain things. They say if your crops were gonna be prosperous, if you're gonna have war, all of this from a liver of an animal.
Yep, and see the Hebrew version it means the seeker to give omens. The seeker give omens,
right? Okay.
Prognosticate, and they would be able to sometimes they can do spells. And so what it does is it gives you something that you would be having to look to God to tell you the future. It puts you in a position of a power, and it makes people scared of you. They call Simon in the New Testament the power of God. They did. He had power. And then it goes to the next part.
Or a witch.
Then it goes in where we were talking about.
A charmer.
Yes.
Or a consulter with familiar spirits.
If you take the AR off, the IAR off and put a Y on it, what would you have?
A family Family.
Ancestor.
Okay.
You can deal with
Okay.
ancestors.
Yeah, I really did see that in that movie, and I was like, what are they teaching? First of all, you take this potion, and it's like,
That's
why
about
am I drinking something
in the New Testament when
to
it
go
talks
to the
about which
dead? You
in the
know?
in the New Testament when it talks about sorcerers who will not inherit the kingdom of God, the word is pharmakia, drug.
Oh, so a
That's
drug.
where they get the word pharmacy from. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Or a charmer, or a consultant with familiar spirits.
So you got those that either ancestor spirit or a spirit that's familiar with that person, and you can think you lived before or whatever, but all they're doing is they are giving you information, and they're always ready. They're always alive. Okay.
Or a wizard,
Then you talk about a male that does those kind of things.
or a necromancer.
One who practices divination by conjuring up the dead.
For all that do these things are an abomination unto Yahweh. And because of these abominations, Yahweh thy God doth drive them out
So
from before thee.
we got people that want to go into those ancient religions, but see, in all those religions, do they teach you about the one God? Do they teach you not to take his name in vain? Do they teach you to keep his Sabbath? Do they teach you to honor my father and mother while they're alive? Do they teach you not to steal? Do they teach you not to murder? Do they teach you not to bear false witness? Do they teach you not to covet? See, if they're not going to teach you how to live, if I accidentally hurt you or kill you, it doesn't teach me not to commit adultery. So it's like, what kind of community will I have knowing that I got either some power or I know that, we're able to do all these things. They got wisdom. They got wisdom. You think that you can't get wisdom from the other side? For instance, the tabernacle was given by the wisdom of God. You think demons can't do, in a limited sense, what he did? They built the tabernacle. God gave Moses the pattern. He said, I'm going to give Bezalel and the Holy the ability to do that. But go ahead and read the next verse, please.
Where am I? For all that do these things are an abomination unto Yahweh, and because of these abominations, Yahweh thy God doth drive them out from before thee. Thou shalt be perfect with Yahweh thy God.
People say you can't be perfect. The context here is that me being singular to him. It means you're not serving another kind of God, or you're not getting spiritual information. You are complete and blameless with him in this area. Go ahead.
For these nations which thou shalt possess hearken unto observers of time.
They listened and they obeyed them. What else?
And unto diviners. But as for thee, Yahweh thy God hath not suffered thee so to do.
I will give you this. This was going to be the last, but let's prove that they had power. The power. Deuteronomy 32:8-17. That will prove that they did have power. And I would submit that they still have power. And I don't fool with that. I don't meddle in something that's above me like that. Deuteronomy 32:8. When you read it, I'm going to just tell you what the Dead Sea Scrolls say. What did 32:8 say?
When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance.
God actually divided the nations. We see it in Genesis chapter 10.
When he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people.
He gave boundaries.
According to the number of the children of Israel.
Your Dead Sea Scrolls will tell you it's the sons of God, as well as your ESV will do the same thing. Biblioteca will show you that, but we're not going to go there for the sake of time. But go down to Andrina, I think it'd be good if we look at verse number 15, 16, and 17, where we're going to end it.
But Jeshurun waxed fat.
That's a name for Israel when Israel got money and goats and they had prosperity. And this is speaking in the future. They got fat, just like America.
And kids.
Mm-hmm.
Thou art waxen fat. Thou art grown thick. thou art covered with fatness, when he forsook God, which made him.
So you forsake God because now you want to get rid of his rules, his standards, his righteousness. You got money now. You don't feel you need him. So now you want to have fun. You got fat and kick. What else?
And lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation.
Mm-hmm.
They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations provoked they him to anger.
We read in the 18th chapter what abominations were.
They sacrificed unto devils.
See?
Not to Yahweh, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not.
They sacrificed to demons. You see the same thing in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and 23. Do we provoke the Lord to jealousy? Are we stronger than he? You gonna partake of the Lord's table, the table of devils? You can't do it. So, as we were looking at, we see the protection of Yahweh of the young maid. We see the protection of the Yahweh with the young maid, and we also see the protection of Yahweh on the people that love him. I want to keep you away from demons. I want to keep you away from getting into something that you're going to be too hard to get untangled from. What are you trying to get? Prosperity? What is it that you want? Why do you want to go get to the other side? Because you want something before I want to give it to you. You want to be able to find some kind of way to bring about your protection, your peace, and your prosperity. And you want to exclude me. And then sometimes you just want to preserve what you have. You got prosperity. Now you got time to be idle. And all that's in the world is the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. It's not of the Father. It's of the world. And we as black people are ever going to overcome. We got to go back to Yah's word and build our communities, and build our lives on his unchanging word. It's going to tell us how to live with one another. It's going to show us how to honor him. It's going to show us what's necessary, because you can have all the money in the world. You can have every dollar going around through the black community 40 times, and we don't still know how to treat our sisters. That we don't still treat our children right. Little girls and little boys riding on the bicycles go still be getting stolen or raped or whatever. Women got children, all these children, and no husband because we won't marry them. Children being insolent to their parents, hitting and fighting and slapping their mother upside the head, learning to practice pedophilia, learning how to have sex with animals. And I'm telling you now, if you think I'm making it up, all you got to do is put in animal sex form, and you'll see a lot of articles written about people doing that mess. We got to come back to God if we ever going to be delivered as a people. We can do that. You think we can, Andrina? What are you going to say?
I was going to say that we were going to talk about that when you talked about bestiality.
We'll do it the next time.
Okay.
Because if the Lord let us spend that much time on witchcraft, he knows what he's doing. There's a lot of that going on now.
It's so much we can say about that.
And it's all over TV.
Hopefully we'll be able to compile something for the next time to actually see, for people to actually see what's being done to them through the media. And it is witchcraft. It is an illusion. It is, if I get you to believe something, if I get you to believe like what Balaam got the children of Israel to believe, that their worship was the same as the worship of the Moabites or the children of Midian. And I get you to corrupt yourselves with that. And so as long as I continually get you to corrupt yourself, and you cannot deny that this is what's happening, that it's a continual corruption. And as long as I can get you to continually corrupt yourselves, your God won't bless you. But you didn't read the rest of it because he said he's going to do it for his name's sake. And that he has a perfection. He has a power. He has a holiness that goes beyond his people.
And it's not a denomination holiness.
And it's not a denomination, but it is
a true holiness.
A true holiness, yes.
Being separated to him. And see, this is some of the things, like whenever we're having a class, and it's just so many things in the Bible that we just need to be discussed.
That's true.
And having you to be able to discuss it with me, that's good, because I can have all this stuff in my head and have never maybe not voiced it out much, but when we voice these things out together.
But as long as you don't recognize the enemy, you don't recognize the corruption that's taking place, and you wonder, why can't I get ahead? Why certain things don't happen for me? Because you don't uphold the standard of righteousness. You've been taught that it's okay to comply with wickedness. And it's okay and it's good to celebrate wickedness. And so you wonder, why do I always feel so defeated? Why can't I get ahead? Why does it seem like everything against me? And it's like, what you don't realize is that you don't have a standard. You don't have a standard of righteousness. And you're going with anything that trends. And anything that trends is probably not for you. Absolutely, it's not for you. It's not for your good. It's about progressing what is known to us as a supremacy. And people say white supremacy doesn't exist, but it does, because as long as you teach evolution in our classrooms to our children, each and every one of them, white, black, Hispanic, whatever, Muslim, Arab, whatever nationality or whatever persuasion you're from, as long as you teach that to our children, you're promoting that. And so you want to know why. This is all an illusion. It's all an illusion, and it's not really reality. They've created a whole environment. They've placed themselves in places that they didn't belong. They say that they're people who they're not. And you feel like, oh, they've done everything when they've done nothing but be evil. And you can't even say that they're evil because you don't even have a standard you hold to.
Glory.
So
I will say this on that divination. Do you remember when we watched about Hollywood? I had videos. It's probably on the web now. They had one that sold us for rock and roll, and then I think that Hollywood did the same thing. And remember, Denzel Washington was talking about he channeled the ancestor when he was doing Glory.
A lot of them say that.
Yeah, it was a lot. It wasn't just him.
It wasn't just him. Beyonce say something just entered me, and I could do things that I couldn't before. And I just looked up and I said, "Help me!" And this thing entered me, and you know, it wasn't the creator of heaven and earth, because she was up there bouncing up and down her bottom in front of everybody in America and twisting her hair around like she was possessed. So some of
What about Michael Landon? He's sitting down writing Little House on the Prairie, and they said he just sit down and that thing would channel through him and do that. And then some was it Betty Davis that was also doing the same thing? They wouldn't have a script for her, and she would go back in the room and channel. I think it was so many of them.
So many.
That would, and they said, "We do this. We do this." We ain't even talked about spirit cooking yet. Go ahead.
I even watched the thing when I was telling you about Eddie Murphy saying that Sammy Davis Jr. told him he served Satan. I worship the devil, and this is what I do. And so the person that was doing the video, they say, well, he's riding in the car. Eddie Murphy is riding in the car with Jerry Seinfeld, and so he's telling him that, listen, this is the strangest thing that happened to me. That, Sammy Davis Jr. told me that he worshipped Satan. He worships the devil. And Jerry Seinfeld is just laughing, he's laughing, he's laughing. And Eddie Murphy is like, I'm not kidding. He said this. And he says, why do you think that I've had as much influence? And say, the devil is just as, don't you know that the devil is just as powerful as God? And he's telling Jerry Seinfeld this while they're riding, because he has a show about comedians riding in cars and whatever.
Okay.
So they're riding together. And so the person that's doing the video, they say, this is not a joke. That in actuality, this is known about Sammy Davis Jr. Like, this is not new, but it's not, publicized in that way. That he has worn the clothes, and he showed a picture of him with Anton LaVey.
I did see that picture.
Who, has the Church of Satan. And so he's going through and he's showing, he said, this is not a joke. That he really did worship Satan. And he said, but people think that it's some sort of joke. And that when they watch people, that it's some sort of gimmick. And that we make ourselves interested by saying we serve Satan. And it's like, no, that's not the case. They really do.
And do you remember the name of that video at all?
I could probably look at my history. Let me see.
Because what I'm doing right now is that I'm just getting ready to send you an image that you could put up on the screen with Sammy Davis with Anton LaVey, and just because sometimes you say something like that, and people are like, they just want to just cut down, criticize somebody. Okay, I just sent it to you. I don't know if you'll be able to take it out and put it up on the screen, but I did go ahead and just send you an image because there's a lot of them. And then he did this movie called Poor Devil, and he got
that movie.
He got the same images that they have that's what you call the Hollywood people.
Okay, it says the video itself is named this. The person that produced the video is Pockets of the Future.
Okay.
And the name of the video is Eddie Murphy Says Sammy Davis Jr. told him he was a devil worshiper. And so he's showing a clip of Eddie Murphy. Seinfeld has I don't know if it's a YouTube. Not YouTube. I don't know if it's Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
That he has a Netflix channel that talks about him riding in cars with comedians.
Okay.
And he's riding, and he's just talking. He has these classic cars, and he picks up a comedian, and they ride together, and they talk. So I think it's on Netflix. I'm not altogether sure, but I think it's on Netflix.
I think if somebody wanted, they could find out. I mean, they don't take long look of stuff.
That's the name of the video, and that's the person that produced the video, or actually showed it on their channel. But they're giving commentary behind it, and they're showing pictures and saying it really is true. And this is not like he's laughing, but his laughing is not laughing that this is funny. He's laughing that he's revealing the truth, but he's trying to make it a joke. But this is something that is well known among them, that this is something that really happened.
They don't play.
Right.
They don't play. Did you see the images that I sent you? Or are you unable to?
You sent them into my email?
Yeah, I sent them to your email. I sent you just a couple, okay, so that you would at least have that. And
okay, I see the one with poor devil.
If you, and that would be good enough. Okay. And then there's one here talking about that he renounced his satanic worship. And they say he was put into the Knights Malta. What difference is that? Yeah, but the thing is that these people, they put them in front of people, and it's like if they can do it, the children feel like we can do it, and it's like, what are we parents going to do? Because we don't. A lot of times we don't have answers. We don't have answers. You'll tell me, hey, it ain't real. Well, God said it's real.
So you want me to put the one up?
You can put either one of them up. I just wanted at least to be verified that we're talking about is something that's known, and all I did was they saw the time I went on the web, did my search. I was able to pull it up without great fanfare, and even the one I just now sent you in his garb. Because sometimes you say something, you just want to find some fault with Sammy Davis. I don't care one way or the other. I care about the Most High God and His righteousness.
So this is the one that he is with Anton LaVey.
Okay.
Which is over the Church of Satan. And was that in California?
I believe it's in California. I think it's the one that Church is over now. His name Richard Church or something. Whatever his name is took over, but just go ahead and show it, because I know that he had LaVey, and you got another guy by the name of Church that's over there.
I was wondering, was this that song that the Hotel California? That's about the Church of Satan, right?
It is. You can't ever leave.
The Eagle? No, that wasn't the Eagle.
I think let me see. I can find out. New Window, Hotel California.
And the other one you gave me is the one he's doing the poor devil. And he's holding up that devil sign. What's the hand sign?
Yep. Okay. Hotel California from the Eagles. Hotel California, the Eagles. Okay. I thought it was the Eagles, but I ain't heard much from them in a long time. Let's see what they just first put up there, because sometimes they won't tell me what a song is about. But this is basically a song about the dark underbelly of the American dream and about excess in America, which is something we knew about. Henley said in 2002 with 60 Minutes. 2005, Henley further explained the meaning of the song to the Rolling Stone, which he placed at Hotel California, and it didn't go through. But I've already heard way more about this.
Yeah, he told that it was about the Church of Satan. And when you listen to it, because I never understood it when I heard it. And it's like, and when you in your wickedness, it's like, that sounds good. I like the sound of that, but I don't understand the lyrics. I don't understand, because you think you're supposed to understand the song. If you, being black in America, and you've heard so many black songs, you expect to understand the song.
Yep.
But when you start listening to other songs that are not what you call R&B or other genre, what they call genre for black people, and you start crossing over into rock and roll or soft rock or pop, and you start hearing these songs and you expect to understand them the same way you understood your song, because black people sing about love, they sing about hate and love, that
war.
You get a sense about partying and have a good time. It's clear, it's clear cut, and you can understand it. But then you start listening to other music, and you say, I don't understand this. What is this about? And there was so many songs I never understood.
I never understood Philadelphia Freedom took me knee high to her man.
Yes. But then as you get older, you say, oh, that was cold. And so it's a lot of things. It's like, what is this, Benny and the Jets? What is this? There were so many songs that I just didn't understand. So that was one. And I was like, I like the song because the melody is good, you know, Hotel California. And then I looked at this video and it said, you know, this song is about the Church of Satan. And I'm saying, okay, so let me go back and think about it, because a lot of times people think that's like, oh, well, a song is whatever it is or whatever it means to you. No, the writer had an intent when he wrote it. He meant to convey something. He may not, it may be cold for some people and that they understand it, but other people, they don't understand it, but the melody is for them. The lyrics are for the people who do understand it.
Yep.
And so now he's telling me that this is about the Church of Satan. And I'm thinking about the things that he's saying about a knife, and you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. And people often talk about being in the world, the Hollywood world, where you're owned. They own you. And you are not your own. You're bought with a price. And you can't decide that you're going to go on vacation and they can't call you and say, who told you to go on vacation? I mean, I remember Jill Scott saying, Harvey Weinstein looked at her and said, who told you that you can get pregnant? And because you don't have permission from us to do that, we're overlords over your talent.
This thing on, I just pulled this up, and whether this is all that they came up with or whatever, on this one thing that I pulled up, Glenn Frey, Hotel California, says the title track, the most famous recording, a long, intricate rock ballad, dueling guitars. Coda has been named the best solo of all times. It is ostensibly about a luxury hotel visit that crosses over to the dark side, but it is really an allegory about hedonistic lifestyle musicians enjoyed in the 70s, or at least that's the most popular interpretation. The song also is rumored to be about heroin addiction, cannibalism, or devil worship.
Wow.
The album cover allegedly shows Anton LaVey, leader of the Church of Satan. So,
See?
so you can put stuff on your thing, and then when they get a fixture, you want to say it's not. But why you put him on there? I'm not gonna put a naked woman on my. I'm not putting a naked woman gyrating on my video on my emblem page. And it's like, well, I'm just talking about her. I'm just talking about, well, I just want to show art. Well, and let's go ahead and close out the night.
Yes,
I enjoyed you helping me go through this tonight, and
we didn't get very far, but we did.
We got far. we dealt with what we want to talk to us about. It's about us having our conversation,
yes,
and people coming in if they'd like to come into our world and see what we talk about, and maybe it'll be something that they like to talk about.
Yes, sir.
All right, good night. I'm not good night, but good night to everybody, because we still probably be talking.
Good night.
Good night, everybody, if there's someone there.